Okay, so Delaney, uh, let's see, we've got about 15 to 20 minutes. Um, and you want to talk about confidence and endurance. So yeah, why don't we begin? Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, so I wrote this in my little thing, but I played Ultimate in college and high school and like a couple seasons in college or one season, 2 semesters in college. Took a big break. Um, and then, wasn't active for all of COVID, came back to it, and my most of my skills are still there, if a little rusty, but it was so long ago. We didn't even have good coaching in college, and so getting kind of the sense of getting field sense and being confident on plays and but I handled on a low level college team, which is very different than the club scene. Um, and just kind of, it feels like I always know what to do, 3 seconds after I should have done it. And so that's kind of hampering my ability to be useful as a one or two in the stack. Um, I know I'm not going to handle with this club team. That's not really my goal at this point. My goal is to be a useful third handler or even fourth. Um, and so I'm having a hard time finding being confident in my skills enough to actually provide those opportunities without thinking I'm going to get in the way or even like committing to my cuts because my lack of confidence. I'm like, oh well, he's waving me off. He's not. He's faking to me. I need to stay with it until I actually get looked off. Um, but I kind of
Okay,
assume that no one wants to throw at me.
okay. All right, so maybe make sure I understand. So basically, so some of what you're bringing into this is some context of where you've played before, your desires to be a useful, like um first or
Member
second
of
in
the
the
team.
stack. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
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 useful for the team. Okay, yeah. And then what seems to be getting in your way is you'll make a cut but kind of half-assedly, or you'll decide prematurely that your cut isn't viable and stop it,
yeah,
things like that. Okay, can you remember like a recent example of this happening by chance? If not, that's fine, but if you can, might be helpful.
yeah. We were running a zone, or they were running a zone. We were running a host stack, and I was cutting towards the handler. I was cleaning it. I was wide open. It was a great cut. He faked to me. He pump faked to get my defender to pull off. And I know what he looks like when he waves me off. That's not what he looks like. But
Okay.
I assumed he didn't want to throw to me, so I cleared myself and then missed the throw.
Okay, so it was like it turned out to be a
Just gave up on my
miscommunication.
throw.
Right. So he threw it kind of like, was it something like where you turned around because you and then he threw it where you were, something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I had changed
Okay,
direction to clear.
great. This is an interesting example because I think like, if you were observing that from the sideline, it just kind of looks like a simple miscommunication. But you can see like, you know, all the knowledge that you have in you here tells us it's something a little bit more detailed than that and something that's fixable, whereas like a simple miscommunication can just be like kind of random that happens, but in this like example we're seeing there's actually reasons behind the miscommunication, and in fact you know a lot more, you know a lot like, so for example, like the fact that you know the difference between a fake and what it looks like when they wave you off, like that's something an observer might not even know, or it's probably very subtle, the difference, but you in your body know what those are like. So I think yeah, so I just want to point that out, like how much you know, right?
I just know it all too late.
Okay, yeah. So you could kind of figure that out after, like, oh, he wasn't
Yeah,
waving you off. Okay, right. Okay, and then it sounds like the underlying pattern of this specific example, and then it sounds like there's others, is like the belief that, like you said, they don't want to throw it to me anyway, so
right.
why about it, right? So if that's your underlying belief system, like even though you logically know that's not true, especially in this thing, you're like, logically you knew you were open, but you have this underpinning current of nobody wants to throw to me anyway, and then you're behaving in line with this belief system rather than what you truly deeply know, which is you were open, he wasn't waving you off, right? That's what you want to act in line with those things instead of,
Yeah,
but nobody wants to throw to me anyway.
right.
Right.
Which
Okay,
this
so we
team
have,
is very good about throwing, right?
right.
They're nice people. It's not like they don't throw to women. They're an actual mixed team.
Right. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's another like thing that could be a confounding factor. It didn't sound like it from what you said that this was one of those things, but that's another thing where it's just like, well, if someone is behaving like they're going to be looked off, sometimes there's reasons for that, right? And sometimes those
Right.
reasons are other people's belief systems about who can and cannot be open, catch
Right.
the disc, deserves the disc, right? But it sounds like that's not what's going on here. So it sounds like it's
No.
your, at least mostly your, as far as we know, um, your belief that no one's wants to throw you anyway. Okay, so logically, you know that's not true. So we do have a very simple exercise we can do to sort of like, all you're going to do is you logically know that this belief or whatever that no one wants to third you isn't true, but you're behaving as if it's true. So what we want to do is we want to just subtly shift your belief system. This is just kind of like what your nonverbal brain is sort of operating in the background without your permission on autopilot. So we just want to slowly shift it to be something more useful. so um so um let's see. So if you were behaving the way you wanted to behave, like cutting with confidence, acting like you know the difference between a fake and a wave off, like what would you ideally believe in those situations or believe about yourself or your teammates? Like,
I'm open. I can catch it. They trust me.
oh, okay, I'm open, they can catch, I can catch it, they trust me. Nice. Okay. Now, when you say those things to yourself right now, I'm open, I can catch it, they trust me. Does that feel true in your body at the moment?
Not I can catch it and they trust me.
Okay. All right, great. So this is like kind of using feelings as information. Is what I
Yeah.
call it. So we can, and it just tells us like part of our brain doesn't believe this, right? Even if it's logically true or not. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to find something that your sports brain or your nonverbal brain can kind of already believe. Like part of it is going to believe no one wants to throw to you anyway, but part of it'll believe something a little more useful. And then all we're going to do is we're going to continue to point it in the direction of the thing that it can already believe that's more useful. Now, right now, what we have is not that thing because it doesn't believe it. And so if you say that to yourself like a positive affirmation, it's just going to argue in the background. So we want to maybe adjust or back up from that kind of ideal place that you want to be, which is I'm open, I can catch it, they trust me. Is that what it was? Okay. So what about like um what if you said something like my teammates usually trust me? Does that feel any different?
I don't know. I'm kind of in a weird spot on the practice roster.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I know some of them do and some of them don't.
Okay.
It depends on the player.
Okay. Yeah, great. Way to be honest, right? I mean, that's helpful, right? Because we're not trying to be delusional or argue with
No.
reality. We're just trying to
I know some
use
of them do not.
okay, well, fuck those guys. But anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
what about like what about um some of my teammates trust me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I know
So
at
if
the
you say
very
that,
least they believe in me.
okay.
They may not trust me, but they believe in me. Like there's hope. They've yet
Okay.
to give up on me.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So again, it's kind of like what's going to be helpful for you here. So if you say like some of my teammates believe in me, does that feel true?
Yeah.
Okay. And then does it generate any other kind of feelings, either positive or negative?
Kind of both.
Okay.
Like I don't want to let them down, and so that's kind of like a weird mixed feeling, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I feel like I'm a people pleaser, right? So I want to not let them down, and then when I do, I feel awful.
Sure. Sure. Okay. So ideally what we want to do is we want to craft something that's going to generate like feelings of like curiosity, attraction, or empowerment. I mean, a little bit of empowerment sometimes is mixed with disbelief. So but something that's like, but let's see, if it's a mix of both that could be useful. Well, let's maybe try to see if we can find something else. um so the idea of them believing in you generates feelings of like positiveness but also like fear of disappointing someone. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, maybe
There's just the objective fact that people still give me feedback, right? They're still coaching me, like they're still helping me out,
Sure.
and that's positive to me.
Great. Okay. Great. Yeah. All right. So maybe okay, I'm going to suggest one of two possibilities. We could continue to
Okay,
like focus on this line of like, you know, your how you feel about your teammates, because it's like, you want to believe that they trust you in order to continue these cuts, in order to cut confidently and cut like you want to disc. But then there's also like your belief in yourself, which is about like, do you believe you can catch the disc? Do you believe that you are trusted with the disc? And it could be that that's maybe the easier and more controllable pathway. What do you
probably.
think? Probably.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, sometimes when we kind of have these thoughts about like, no one wants to throw me the disc anyway, it's a reflection of like, well, they think that because I think that at least partially about
right.
myself. Okay. So let's maybe try it about your beliefs about your own abilities. So like, let's see, I'm open, I can catch it, they trust me. How about like, I'm open, I can catch it, I trust
I trust
myself.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. If you say that to yourself, does that feel true?
like 60% of the way.
60%. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. What about I I mean we could also get more specific about what does what's all involved with like trusting yourself in those situations. Maybe is there anything, what does that mean? What does that look like?
I've done the work. I've done the drills. I put into practice.
Okay.
Like I've I've done everything I can to be
Mm.
successful at this moment. If I am not, that's how games go.
Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of like ideally how your what you want your attitude to be. Like I've done everything I
Right.
can. This is what it is. This is
Sometimes
what it is.
sometimes you drop the disc. Try not to.
Right. Okay, but you've done the work, you've done what you can, and this is who you are, and that's like fine. Something like that.
Something like
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe okay, so some of these could be helpful just to remind yourself of. Like I've done the work. I've done what I can. I'm doing what I can. Those all sound true, right? They feel true, yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Do they
I've
when
worked
you
harder
say
this season than ever before.
okay, okay. So I've worked hard, I've done the work. Did that also generate like does that feel true? And also does it feel helpful?
It almost feels complacent, but I'm
Okay.
trying to not be complacent, obviously. That's why
Oh,
I'm on
interesting.
smoke.
Okay.
Um, like I don't know. I don't want to be okay with dropping it, even
Sure.
if I've done the work and done what I can, right?
Got it. Right. Okay. Are you complacent with dropping it?
No, I get mad,
Right. Okay.
but then I just get down
Interesting.
on myself. And I
Sure.
don't really know what my brain's doing. My brain
Gotcha.
doesn't do much while I play.
It doesn't do much, or what was that?
It's just lagging. My brain's really slow when I'm
Oh,
playing,
interesting. Okay.
and so I don't really process anything till I get off the field, other than
Okay.
expletives.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Um,
Interesting. Well, maybe that's not such a terrible thing.
maybe.
Well, so I mean, so to be honest, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of like, you mentioned like your brain's lagging and that there's kind of like this feeling of like it sounds like there's this frustration about, you know, not being able to process these things until later. To be honest, like when I work with my clients on the mental training, like the thing that I'm always saying is like the mental training, it doesn't happen on the field. It happens off the field. It happens off the field before you get to those moments, and it happens off the field in how you reflect on those moments and learn from them. Right. What I can see is that you do remember specific things that happened. You have a very good recollection of a lot of stuff that's there that's useful for information. Right? You know the information that you collected. You can remember what you saw. You can remember what it meant. You can remember what you did. Right? You have a lot of the things that are necessary to make progress um, in your mental training, because we can take these things and kind of pick them apart and learn from them a little bit, right? So, we haven't exactly landed on kind of like the one thought that's going to help you here, but I just do want to validate that you you are capable of collecting a lot of information that you need in order to improve your mental game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the trust thing with my teammates is really big for me. Like the best point I played was when I don't know, when we were playing rec league or whatever, and one of my teammates from the club was like, "All right, well, Delaney and I are back. We're gonna handle it. It's gonna be fine." And I was like,
Mhm.
"What? Me? Fuck." And
Nice.
then the point went great, and like we just played, and I knew what I was doing, and it was fine because Tyler said I could, and I was like, "Okay, well, if he thinks I can,
Yeah.
then I guess I
Yeah.
can."
That's great. So yeah, I mean, I think like kind of what I'm seeing here is like, I talked to a team that I'm coaching about this recently. It's like, and the way I coached them through this season process was about like just understanding the mental basics, like how your brain works, right? Because like, and you can see that you're kind of wondering like, why is my brain doing this stupid stuff? Like, right. So understanding how the brain works is just helpful because it's like, yeah, everyone's brain does that. It's fine. And then the next one is like performance as an individual, like gaining the capacity to kind of like be your own emotional support system when you need it, right? To have your own back in your decisions, to recognize that you can grow and you have all the skills you need. And then there's the next part, which is performance as a team. Now, when I work with clients, I don't get to do this part because, well, because I'm not working with the team. But you can see, like, it's not just about you and your own abilities and belief systems. It's also like your team has an influence on you. Your team has an influence on you positively. Your team can have an influence on you negatively. And you can see, like, even in this one team, there's probably a mix of both. There's some teammates that trust you and believe in you. Some teammates you can feel or you think maybe they don't trust me or believe in me. And so it produces a mix of stuff. So I just want to maybe this is me rambling. I find that interesting. And then too, that's normal, right? The things that you can do are, you can better understand how your brain works, and you can kind of like do some of this work on your own so that you're more resilient. Um, and the stuff your teammates do, it's a mix. It's like you get some votes in sort of like your own confidence, and then your teammates get votes in how confident you are. And as you improve your own mental strength practice, it's like you get more votes, and then your teammates get fewer votes, or you get to choose who's voting and choose whose votes you don't listen to. That's all part of like getting more mental resilience when you've been able to train your own brain, and you can kind of trust in your own self, your own capacities, and your own ability to filter teammate feedback and take what you want, get the support that you need, and kind of
Yeah, that makes
minimize
sense.
stuff that's not helpful.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm like going through my teammates now, thinking I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I did badly on that point. Like
Mm.
I was out there with five people who don't trust me,
Ah,
and so I was not
interesting.
usable because they didn't expect me to be. But I
Interesting.
have teammates that
Interesting.
do really like double down and help coach me, and like I've improved extreme a lot this season because of them not giving up on me. But then I have like
Amazing.
one captain who just decided I'm not worth it, and that's their whole thing. So
Okay.
it's making a lot more sense in my head now.
Okay. Well, great. Well, yeah. So interesting. So has that been kind of helpful to sort of just like sift through a bit?
Yeah, yeah. Like I, it makes me feel less pressure
Got it.
to be doing excellent when this teammate who doesn't trust me is out there because like I feel like I'm always trying to prove myself to them, but I'm
Gotcha.
fighting an uphill battle because they don't trust me anyway.
Right.
And so I feel like the first place I can start is with the teammates that do trust me and knowing
Uh-huh.
they'll be on the sidelines and they'll see improvement. Maybe if it's not just when I'm on the field with them. And then I have, stepping stones to get to improving on the field with them,
Mhm.
proving like if you're not throwing to me, this is your fault because I'm open. This is a smart cut. I've done all these things 1,000 times, just maybe not with you on the field.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So kind of
I
building
think,
my way up there.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great. I think that's kind of like another way to sort of like direct your brain in the direction you want to go, right? It's like, I can like, or even it sounds like what you believe is like you're improving with the teammates that want to help you, right? And with the teammates
Yeah.
that don't want to help you, it's going to be harder to improve. These are just kind of like these are opinions, but they're also kind of well-informed opinions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well maybe it's a matter of focusing on the things that are working, which is like I'm improving with the teammates too. who trust me, or I can receive coaching from the teammates who trust me and I trust them, or just maybe those are some things that would be helpful to just remember.
Yeah.
I like what you said about even when you're on the field with the ones that you feel are not as helpful, you can remember there's the ones that are kind of like coaching you and helping you on the sideline. They're still looking at what you're doing. They can still give you feedback. It's still an opportunity for you to perform and do the best you can and learn from it with the help of the people that want to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been they've been very helpful. These these guys, yeah. So just continuing. I guess if they haven't given up on me, I shouldn't either. But it's just frustrating.
All right, well, I think this session is going to be helpful for some others, so I'm going to stop the recording here.